Okay. Finally got the YouTube live to work. YouTube. Finally got the YouTube to work. That is amazing. Now, my camera, of course, is acting up. Okay. All right. So this is what we're going to do. Let's see if we can get my camera to work a little bit better. Okay, much better angle. All right. So we are good. We are golden. All right. Welcome to Parsha Hour. For those who don't know, we basically split up the entire Old Testament, the first 5 books, the books of Moses, called the Chumash meaning 5. We split them up over the year, and every single week we read some. And now we're going to read from the portion of Vayetze. I'm sorry. Parshas, not Vayetze, Toldos. I think I by mistake, got ahead of the game and named my Parsha Hour wrong. But anyway, Toldos. Toldos is where we're at this week. Toldos is the story of Jacob and Eisav. So here we go. We got Eisav, we got Jacob, we got 2 brothers. So were they really fighting? They really hate each other? Is that what really was going on? Oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't think so. I think Eisav gets a lot of bad rap. I think Yaakov gets away with a little stuff, but we'll see. We'll definitely see. Okay, what we're going to focus on today is, so Eisav and Yaakov exist. Okay, we're going to skip to that part. They exist. Eisav is the older brother. He's covered in red here. He's known as Red, but we're going to find out why he's known as Red. Because even though the Torah, the original Testament had told us before that he's Red, it doesn't mean that he was named Red at birth. He was actually named Red a different time, and we're going to find out why he was named Red, and we're going to find this out right now. And we're also going to find out the major point over here is the sale between Yaakov and Eisav. So Yaakov, the older brother, Jacob the younger brother, Eisav, the older brother, right? Eisav came out first. Jacob was holding on to his ankle, so that's why he's called Jacob, right? Yaakov means to cling onto, but Eisav, he was Mihiri, and that's why he's named Eisav, and he's the older brother, and Jacob's the younger brother. Now, Jacob wants the birthright. Why? Why does he want the birthright? He wants a primogeniture. The primogeniture is a very fancy word for saying, I want the main thing that my father is going to inherit, that I'm going to inherit from my father. In other words, Abraham, we knew, had the right to the land of Canaan. Jacob, we know that Abraham had the land right to Canaan because he was the oldest of Terach. And Terach was the oldest of the oldest, going back 10 generations to Shem. So Shem is the son of Noah. Noah cursed Canaan, said that whatever belongs to Canaan is going to go to Shem. 10 generations later, we have Abraham, right? Terach is 9 generations. Abraham, Terach only makes it to Haran. And then Abraham goes all the way from there, from Aram, which is Aramea, the ancient place, which is about a little, what is it? Maybe it's a little bit of Lebanon, maybe it's a little bit of Turkey, a little bit of Syria, right around that area. He makes it down to Canaan. Abraham, we know that. Okay, he travels through. He has a son Isaac. God tells him, you have a son Ishmael, and you have a son Isaac. Isaac is going to be the one that's going to inherit you. Isaac is the primogeniture. Isaac was the oldest of his mother from Sarah. However, Ishmael is also from Sarah. How's Ishmael from Sarah? If you remember, it's going to give you a little. We're going to get to our parsha in a second. I'm just giving a little of a recap for those who are joining us now. So how is Ishmael also the oldest from Sarah? Because when Abraham had no children from Sarah, Sarah said, "Why don't you take my maidservant Hagar and have a child?" The rule is that usually with slaves, and this is the rule through all of life in all the world. This has always been the rule. If you have a slave and the father is free and the mother is a slave, the child is a slave. If the father is a slave and the mother is free, the child is going to be free. So whatever the mother is, that's what the child is going to be, except in one circumstance. And that is, since Sarah said, Hagar is my maidservant, I'm giving her over to my husband to have a child. So the child that Hagar has is going to belong to the mistress, which is Sarah. So when Yishmael was born, he actually was Sarah's child. Not biological, obviously, but legally, he was Sarah's child. Later, Sarah threw him out because when his mother was pregnant, she was acting like she was the mistress of the house. So Sarah couldn't deal with that. So she sent it out. I'm being very, very concise over here. Obviously, we've talked more and more elaborate about that in other places. So Ishmael was thrown out of the house when he was in utero. Hagar was thrown out of the house. A messenger from God came to her and said, "Don't worry, go back to Abraham's house. You're going to be fine. You're going to have a child, and that child is going to be a father of a big nation, of a very big nation." So Hagar ended up returning to Abraham's house, and when she had Ishmael, and Abraham raised Ishmael, and Ishmael was raised until he was 13, and then Sarah had a child, a biological child, and that was Isaac, Yitzchak. When she had Yitzchak, again she threw Ishmael out of the house, because Ishmael, when he was 16 and Jacob was 3, Ishmael's acting like he's the oldest, and God had told Abraham that it's going to be Isaac who's going to inherit you, not Ishmael, even though Ishmael was the oldest child. It's going to be the biological child through Sarah who's going to inherit you. And when that happened, Ishmael was still playing games and was called in Yiddish Macht Isaac. He was making a lot of problems for Sarah, making a lot of problems for Isaac, or at least it was in Sarah's mind, not in Abraham. Abraham did not want to kick Ishmael. Abraham objected. Sarah came over to Abraham and said, "Get him out of the house." Abraham objected, but God told Abraham in a vision, obviously, go ahead, listen to your wife. Okay, so therefore, through Terach, through Abraham, and through Isaac, it was very clear who is going to inherit Canaan and going to be the one who inherits the blessings that God said, those who bless you, those who curse you be cursed. Because God appeared to both Abraham and to Isaac, and he told Abraham about Isaac, and he told Isaac about himself, obviously, so he knew they were the right ones who were going to inherit. Now it comes finally back to where we are. Then Isaac has 2 children. Isaac has the older one is Eisav, and the younger one is Jacob. Twins. Okay, the Rivka. He has twins. Now the question is, who is going to inherit? Okay, so by the law, legally, through humanity speaking, whatever happens, of course, you have the oldest. Okay, so basically, we have the oldest, and that's how Abraham inherited. That's what Terach inherited. So the oldest is going to be those ones inherited. However, we should know that through Jewish history, I should say really through Israelite history, because they weren't Jews until after the temple destruction in the year 70, that was Judea. They were called Jews in the Second Temple era, basically from 70 Common Era going back to about 300 to 350, 400 of BCE. They were called Judeans then because they're mostly from the shaved tribe of Yehuda. That's where Jew comes from. But before they were Israelites, because Jacob, as we know, was going to be called Israel, and the entire 12 tribes, his 12 sons, are going to be united as one nation called Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel. They're going to be called Israelites. So the history of Israelites actually is not necessarily that the oldest one takes over. We have many, many examples. For instance, Joseph was the oldest of his mother, but not the oldest of Yaakov. He was actually the second to youngest in the entire family, but he was the oldest of Rachel. But he was much younger than Reuven, and yet he was given the blessing to be king. Reuven, who was the oldest of his mother, wasn't even given the blessing to be king from his own mother. Actually, that was Yehuda, for the fourth to be. Moses is the one that was going to lead the whole entire Israelites out of Egypt. He was not the oldest. He was third. We had Miriam, and then Aaron, and then Moses, right? So therefore, he was not the oldest, and yet he was given the rights, on and on and on. As a matter of fact, Moses doesn't even come from the oldest of Levi. Levi had 3 sons, and Levi's second son, Kahas, is where Moses comes from, and yet the second son is the one that ended up having Moses and Aaron and Pinchas, etc., etc. So not always is it the oldest exactly who's going to get it. So what we know is it's been clear until now. God said to Abraham, God said to Isaac, you are going to be the one who's going to inherit. But it wasn't that clear. Eisav grew up and Jacob grew up. And the verse tells us very, very clearly that the parents did not know who was going to inherit. So let's start. After this whole introduction, let's start. We are now in chapter 27. No, we're not. Not yet. Yeah, we are. No, we're going to first go a little bit early. I'm sorry. We are now going to go to chapter in Genesis. Let me just find it. I'm sorry. It's before that episode. Okay. All right. We're at the end of chapter 25. Okay. Chaf Hey, end of chapter 25 in Bereshis in Genesis. Again, Parshas Toldos. So what happened? The original testament, the Torah tells us very, very clear that after they were born, now I like to just point out one little nuance thing, that there are sections. When you look at the way the Torah is written, there are different sections. There's no quotation marks. There's no punctuation. However, there are spaces. So all the section that's written before a space usually goes together. This entire section, from when the kids are born until the story of the sale that we're going to talk about, is all one section. There's no break. It does not mean it happened all at the same time. Obviously, it happened over many years. But the reason is the Torah is talking about a certain section. It's telling us that all this is connected. The fact of their birth is all connected. The fact that Yaakov, even as a baby, wanted to grab onto Eisav's ankle, and that's why he's called Yaakov. He's a grabber. His namesake is he's a grabber. He cleaves on to the power of someone else. That comes to play as they get into adulthood. Also, this very, very important pasuk 28, Chaf Ches, in Perek Chaf Hey, very important pasuk. It says, "Vayehav Yitzchak es Eisav." Yitzchak, Isaac loved Eisav. He tzayid befiv, because of all because the game was in his mouth. In other words, Eisav always fed his father. He went after his father. He served him. He fed him. He was someone who Yitzchak looked at and said, "This is a guy who could take care of the house because he's very good, not only with farming, but he's very good in the field. So therefore, this is someone who could really be someone who could protect the household. He's strong. He could be the one who's going to get the progeniture, the Bechorah, the firstborn status." Rivka Ohebes as Yaakov, but Rivka, the mother, she loved Yaakov, and why? She doesn't say why she loved Yaakov. It could be It could be through prophecy. It could be through a feeling, a mother's intuition. It could be because Yaakov is the one who sat in tents. He did the numbers. He did the books. He took in the money. He's the one who shared the sheep, took care of the herd. It could be because of that, and that showed another maturity and ability to take care of the household. That's why she wanted Yaakov. In the Torah, in the original Testament, in the Old Testament, when it says that someone is ohev, is loved, it always means that that person is going to be given something, because it comes from the root of give. So it doesn't mean that Yitzchak loved Eisav and he did not love Yaakov, or Rivka loved Yaakov and not love Eisav. That means Yitzchak thought that Eisav was going to inherit him, and Rivka thought really it should be Yaakov. Now, right after that, the very next verse, without any break, without any interruption, so then it says at one time, Vayazid Yaakov Nazid. Yaakov was cooking a stew. We don't know what type of stew it was. Vayazid Yaakov Nazid. He was cooking a stew. Vayavoy Eisav min hasadeh hu ayef. Eisav came from the Sunday and from the field, and he was famished, not hungry. He was fainting, ayef, tired. He wasn't ra'ev, hungry. He was ayef. He was tired. He had a long day. And it's very possible he had a blood sugar drop. It's very possible that Eisav, who had reddish complexion skin, and who we'll see needed certain carbohydrates to sustain himself, very possible was a type 1 diabetic. It's very possible to say, or some other thing. He came in from the field and he was fainting. And since he was fainting, he was in a very vulnerable position. And Yaakov was already cooking a stew. Yaakov was preparing because Yaakov wanted to go ahead and have Eisav sell him the birthright. So Vayomer Eisav to Yaakov. Eisav to Yaakov, Haliteni nam min ha'adam. Give me some of the red stuff. Ha'adam, I said, this red stuff that you're doing, because I am fainting. I'm about to die. I'm about to collapse. I'm about to pass out. Because Eisav always had a reddish complexion, and because he needed this red stuff, this red lentils, to sustain himself. So therefore, you are what you eat, and he was called Edom. He was called Edom after that condition. So this is obviously pre-diagnosed diabetes type 1 type of situation where he came in from the field and he was fainting. He felt very faint. Now, wouldn't the person who came from the field know exactly where to get food from? Of course. Someone who went from the field, of course, would know exactly where to get food from. So why would he then go to Yaakov? He knew he went to Yaakov because he knew Yaakov cooked the lentils. Yaakov was there. He knew exactly where to go to sustain himself. So in other words, this did not happen every single day. This did not happen only once. This seemed to have happened often. Because it doesn't say Vahoya, and it was that Yaakov was cooking, it should have said Vayihi, and it was in those days. But in those days, Yaakov was cooking. One time it happened to me. Yaakov was cooking some lentils, but it doesn't say one time it happened to me. It says Vayazet Yaakov Nasid. After it says Rivka Yeheves Yaakov, that Rivka loves Yaakov, and Yaakov cooks his lentils. That's part of what Yaakov's doing. He sustains the household. In other words, Yaakov probably did this daily. He probably did it daily, weekly, something. He probably always had it. So Eisav came from the fields. He knew exactly where to go. He went straight to Yaakov. He did not know what these red stuff are called. Back then, they didn't have names for everything. He knew there was a red stew. He knew that the lentils were called red. He says, give me this red stuff, the red stuff that I need. I need the stuff. He probably could be very young. Could be at this point, he's even less than a teenager, already learning the field and stuff like that. Or it could be maybe he's an early teen, or could be in his 40s. We don't know how old he was this time. I know rabbis try to calculate this and that, the other thing, but we don't really know exactly. He could be as old as in his 30s at this point. Anyway, because soon we can say that when he was 40, that he took a wife, so he was obviously younger than 40, but it could be anywhere between 5 and 39 years old. Anyway, so he comes in and he's fainting and he needs the stuff. He knows exactly where to get it from. He gets it from Yaakov, and this is what Yaakov is waiting for. This is what Yaakov is waiting for. So one day Yaakov said, "Oh, I have a good plan." So he says, "Give me the stuff." So Yaakov says, "Michra kayoim, sell to me kayoim, like today as b'chayra rasuli." So Yaakov says, "First sell me the b'chayra." Doesn't say Michra hayoim. Doesn't say sell me today the b'chayra. It says kayoim. In other words, I want you to make an oath to me that you're going to sell it. You promised me today that in the future you're going to sell what's called your b'chayra, right? So, one second. I think I have something on. 1 second. Let me just figure it out. Okay. All right. I don't know. I had some dancing stuff in the background. Okay. So he says, I want you to sell kayoim. So you're going to sell in the future, but you're going to sell to me like today. Okay. So, and how is it? So it's not, obviously, he can never be older than Eisav, but at least he could sell him the rights to be older. Again, it was not conclusive. God never told Isaac who is going to inherit him. So therefore, it was Halech Lumos. I am going to die. Whatever you think is going to happen with this birthright, it's only going to go until I die. Everyone dies. Either I'm going to die because I'm so faint. He came in so faint, and he thought he was going to die. He says that because I'm very tired, because I'm very faint, or because he felt like even if I'm going to get better, but one day I'm going to die. And if I'm going to die, who cares who's the Bukhar, who's not the Bukhar, your children, my children, and are you going to be around to see it? No, I'm not going to be around to see it. So therefore, why do I even have to worry about what's going to happen in the future? You're so worried about some future blessing that's going to happen. Let me tell you something. Abraham he gave it to one of his children. Good. Isaac gave it to one of his children. Good. I'm going to give it to one of my children, but the other my children are not going to have it, right? So one child might have it, other children might not have it. I'm not going to see the benefit of it. What is the point? So he says, anyway, I'm going to die. So why? Why is this to me the Bukhar? You give me the Bukhar, but I'm just a flesh and blood. What is it to me that exactly you want to take it? You want it? You want it? Go ahead. So, but Yaakov is Shaveli Kayoim. So again, Yaakov tells him, please, you must swear to me that you're going to sell it like today, like as if you're going to go retroactive back today. Swear, So Eisav said, fine, I swear to you, whatever you want, Jacob. You think that the primogeniture is so important? I swear, pinky swear, cross my fingers on the back, whatever you want. I swear, quote unquote. to you that I'm going to give you the primogeniture. You can have the Bechorah, you can have the inheritance, whatever. You're also going to die, so what's the whole point? So Eisav's like, yeah, whatever, I'll swear, whatever, fine. So V'yimchar as B'chayrasa Yaakov, so Gamazem, and he swore, and he sold the Bechorah to Yaakov. However, it was not a good sale. Why is it a good sale? If a person is feeling faint and vulnerable and he's in a position where he's being taken over, obviously it cannot be a good legal binding contract. This is a contract of adhesion. You have Yaakov, who's nice and fit, and he has in the shade, and he's been in the tent all day, and he has been working, and he's 100% all fit, and he's young, and he's strong. And then you have his brother, who's basically fainting, and he feels like he's about to die, and he can't even really move, and he's lying on the couch and saying, give me some of the stuff, or else I'm going to faint, I don't know what's going to be with me. Clearly, it's a contract of adhesion. Clearly, it's not sustainable. However, Yaakov made him swear that he's going to sell it. So he made him swear. Yaakov says, he swore to him by Yimchar that he would sell, as B'chayrasa Yaakov that he did sell, but he would sell the Bechorah to Yaakov. This is part of the swearing. It's all one swear. He swore to him by Yimchar that he was going to sell as B'chayrasa Yaakov. So Yaakov Nasanais of Lechem. Then Yaakov made a feast. Congratulations, we did business. Now that you're all better, I gave you some of the red stuff. Now we're going to make a feast to celebrate this, and you're actually going to sell it under proper conditions. I'm going to give you, so Yaakov Nasanais of Lechem, even bread, V'nazin, and Adashim, and the stew of lentils, and V'aichal, and Eisav ate, V'yesh, and he drank wine, he drank water, whatever it was. He had a whole entire feast. And then Yaakov's like, great, you had bread, you had lentils, and you had water, you're all satisfied now, you're all strong. Okay, now it's time to actually sell me the Bechorah. Sell me the inheritance rights. Give it to me. Come. Give it to me. What did Eisav do? Vayechel, he ate. Vayesh, he drank. Vayakom, he got up. And we learned from last week, from Abraham's dealing with Ephraim, and with the Bnei Ches, and with the Hittites, we realized when the Torah, in the Old Testament, when the Original Testament says, by Yaakov he got up, end of story, negotiations are over. By Yaakov means negotiations are over. So he ate, he drank, by Yaakov, he got up by Yelech, and he went. He did not end up fulfilling his promise. He did not actually sell the firstborn rights to Jacob. Vayivez Eisav, he despised Eisav. Now Yaakov despised Eisav. Eisav, you promised that you're going to sell to me. He despised Eisav as a Bechorah over this firstborn rights. And there was a friction now in the household. And now Yaakov did not like what Eisav. If you didn't want to sell to me, you should have said you sell to me. But you promised. You said it didn't mean that much to you. You felt like you're going to die. You didn't really care what's going to happen to your children. Therefore, you promised sell to me. If you didn't to me, don't promise. But you promise. This is always the thing. It's a great, great lesson in life, okay? In business, when dealing with children, when dealing with friends, when dealing with community, whenever you're dealing with other people, there's a great lesson the original Testament is giving us. There's a great lesson the original Testament is giving us, that we learn it from here. And that lesson is, do not speak something you're not going to do, because it will create a relationship rift that you cannot go back on. For instance, if Eisav never would have said, I'm going to sell anything to you, he would have said, oh my God, I'm tired. Could we discuss this later? Yo, Yaakov, I'm about to faint. Could we discuss this a little bit later? Then Yaakov would have been like, no choice. Oh, okay, fine. Here, take the steak. Take it. And Yaakov would have given it to him. They would have sat down. He would have ate it. Okay, Yaakov, now what do you want to discuss? Nothing to discuss. I'm better. I'm gone. Bye. But instead, Eisav said, whatever you want. Stop hacking me a Chinik. Stop hacking me all the way to Chinatown. Okay, I'm going to go and I'll sell to you. Fine, whatever. Just give me the stew. He opened his mouth. He promised something he didn't intend to give and something he would not give. And that created the rift. If we tell a child, stop, okay, if you're going to sleep, I'll buy you a toy. Okay? You don't end up buying that kid a toy because let's say the kid didn't go to sleep. Let's say the condition is, if you don't sleep now, I'll buy you a toy. If the kid doesn't go to sleep right away, instead the kid goes to sleep an hour later. I'm telling you, the next day the kid's going to want the toy and they're going to cry. You promise. Or, oh my gosh, get in the car. It's like late. We got to go home. Okay, if you get in the car right now, so maybe on the way home we'll go. Maybe we'll see on the way home we'll go stop somewhere. Maybe. I'm telling you maybe, but I'm telling you the second you open your mouth and you say something you may do, you don't intend to do, that child, that colleague, that employee, that employer, that board member, that rabbi, priest, imam, whatever, wife, spouse, whoever you're talking to, parent, if you promise something that you don't intend to actually give to the person, and then the conditions change, and you don't end up doing it later because you were in a felt you compulsed, but then later on you back out, even legally though you were allowed to back out, you only said maybe, you only said if, certain conditions, it does not make a difference. That creates a rift. And that's exactly what happened here. Eisav opened his mouth. He swore falsely. He did not intend to give it. He didn't end up giving it. It created a rift. Yaakov despised him. And that's why it happened later on when Yaakov went ahead and was able to trick his father into giving him the blessings because he felt it was right for him and Eisav felt it was right for him. And that's where the condition is. And I have no idea who's really right, but history it is. And the rest is history. And that's what we have. No going back. Everyone should have a great day. Thank you so much, Switcheroo 613. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well.